Record heat today. When we'll see substantial relief. And the unsettled pattern that will take over our holiday weekend.
Plus, chaos at several Wake County schools, where the investigation stands for a bomb threat that led to an evacuation and hospitalizations. And broken AC units closing other school campuses. Then, only on WRAL investigates how the CEO of Holly Hill Hospital is addressing dozens of violations and complaints. How a new partnership could bring big changes.
Today was certainly about the heat, but tonight is about the storms. Thank you for joining us. I'm Dan Haggerty.
And I'm Ashley Rowe. So this is a live look at Carter Finley Stadium in Raleigh. NC State delayed kickoff for its first football game of the season to 7:32. That's because of a lightning delay.
Meteorologist Kat Campbell is in the WRAL Severe Weather Center. Kat, what do we know about this cell now? And more storms? Could they arrive later tonight?
More storms could arrive later tonight, but the cell that delayed the game, poof, it is gone. That storm long gone. And I think the reason they had to delay the game was because the practices got delayed earlier due to that one storm cell. But kind of best case scenario there at Carter Finley, the storm was nearby, but it never actually stormed there at the stadium. We do have a couple of storms in northern Wake County, a little shower possibly in Durham. That's about it on the dual Doppler 5000 radar right now. We'll leave in a 30% chance of storms this evening, but look to the north. It's these storms that we're going to be watching later tonight dropping in out of Virginia. A level 1 threat for severe weather remains, damaging wind and hail possible. And we'll watch that complex of storms as it moves in, mainly midnight and later. So this could be overnight that we see some of those storms hold together. Today's high, 101. That breaks the previous record set all the way back in 1948 of 100 degrees. We had a couple of other 100-degree readings on the map today as well. It was a sizzling hot August day. 91 out there right now at RDU. 95 is the heat index, feeling like 99 in Fayetteville, and the heat index still in the triple digits in Clinton. Coming up, I'll walk you hour by hour through those storm chances overnight.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lena Tillett in the WRAL Live Center. Kat Campbell was just walking you through that system that moved through. As a result, the kickoff time at NC State's season opener has been moved to 7:32. Again, the concern about lightning in the area. Warm-ups have already begun. You can see here from this NC State football account posting to X showing the players here on the field clearly beginning their warm-ups here. Just a little drama for the season opener. I did want to show you what it looks like inside Carter Finley Stadium. Here is an image that we got from inside from WRAL sports anchor Casey Hintz. You see folks filing in as well as the players on the field here playing against Western Carolina at 7:32. As soon as they get on the field, we will certainly let you know. Back to you.
Please do. Thanks, Lena. Two more Wake County schools had to dismiss early today because of HVAC issues, Willow Spring and Wakefield High Schools. The district says this is a problem at several schools, saying the equipment is just too old. Another problem is staffing. About half of the HVAC maintenance positions are vacant. A spokesperson said the heat was bad. The building was no longer conducive to learning. We talked with a parent of a student who was inside.
He said it was hotter in the building than it was outside. But I just wish so as far as with communication, it was a little bit better. Because, I think they could have sent out an earlier notice than like 30 minutes before school's actually ready to let out.
A tough day for a lot of kids, parents, teachers. Wake County Superintendent is calling the situation a game of whack-a-mole, essentially. This is actually the second time in a year that mole has popped up at Willow Spring High. Last September, you'll probably remember when Millbrook and Southern Garner High Schools also dismissed early because of HVAC issues. Now you fast forward to earlier this month, it was Lake Myra Elementary and Moore Square Magnet Middle. Then this week, Sanderson High, Wakefield Middle, and once again, Willow Spring High. If you want more education coverage as you take a look at the whack-a-moles, you can check out WRAL.com.
And Dan, it's not just the HVAC systems. Little problems just keep coming up in many of our school districts, and we're not even a week into the year. You probably got the alert about a bomb threat at Heritage High School. Wake Forest police are still trying to identify the person responsible. The school evacuated just in case, and when students went outside, EMS responded to about a dozen heat-related calls. Yesterday, a school bus crashed in Orange County, sending 2 people to the hospital. And on Tuesday, parents sent us video of a school crossing a double yellow line, passing a couple pieces of traffic here. And of course, there are the multiple calls and emails we have received about bus delays.
Bus issues cause so many problems for families. Now, if you're watching the news, you're hearing all of this, you might think that our schools simply don't have a handle on all of this stuff, and I get it. But these disruptions, while aggravating and sometimes very dangerous, you should consider an important fact. Between Wake, Durham, Orange, and Johnston counties, there are 267,000 students at 337 schools, thousands of school bus drivers and school buses. For every busted HVAC or delayed school bus, remember there are hundreds of thousands of other students having a smooth school day. For all the issues in between, that's where we come in to hold districts accountable. If you want more education coverage, you can check it out in that section of WRAL.com.
If you are just pulling up WRAL on your TV or streaming device, let's get you caught up on today's other big stories. Here are 5 things you should know right now. UNC Chapel Hill's new chancellor will make a little less than his predecessor. We obtained a copy of Lee Roberts' contract through a public records request. He will have a base salary of $600,000. Kevin Guskiewicz was paid a base salary of $620,000. The position includes a primary residence and $900 per month for a car allowance. A Fayetteville police officer is charged with obtaining property by false pretenses. Sergeant Brian Gerber was on the force for 7 years. Now he's out of a job. The charges stem from his time working as a security guard at Market Fair Mall on Skybow Road. Investigators didn't get into the details. He is expected in court tomorrow. Today, a Fuquay-Varina assisted living employee pleaded guilty to involuntary manslaughter for causing a woman's death. The plea deal downgrades her previous murder charge. Prosecutors say Cynthia Sellers pushed 88-year-old Lily Cooper to the ground after the woman got into an argument. Cooper died from her injuries. Sellers apologized to the family in court. She'll spend at least 10 more months in prison. She could be there for up to 23.
New warning signs are up at Raleigh Beach along the Neuse River. They warn about strong currents and steep drop-offs there. The city put these signs in. At least 4 people, you may remember, have drowned at that location since May. Several others have had to be rescued. And an update on that small plane that landed on a highway in Greensboro. How about this situation? The FAA says the plane had engine problems. Their report published today says the plane landed on the urban loop. A passenger got out of that plane and then was hit by a car that was passing by. The car also hit the wing of the plane. Fortunately, no one had any serious injuries. The NTSB is still investigating further.
A federal jury found former Wake County Sheriff Gerald Baker responsible in a lawsuit brought by 2 former deputies. Both deputies spoke to WRAL Investigates shortly after they were let go. Gray Spate and Stephen Williamson said Baker fired them for reporting insensitive comments made by one of Baker's friends. Teddy Patrick made those comments during a course on sensitive training. Sheriff Donnie Harrison demoted him, but was Sheriff Baker promoted him. The jury recommended both deputies who filed suit receive $500,000 in damages.
Kamala Harris's running mate Tim Walz was in our area in Raleigh today for a campaign fundraising event. It's his first trip to North Carolina during this campaign. WRAL's Monica Casey followed the motorcade, going stop by stop, which of course included a trip to Cookout.
Minnesota Governor Tim Walz stopped on a campaign office during his whirlwind trip to North Carolina this afternoon. He was joined by Governor Roy Cooper. The two brought cookies and thanked the people working the phone bank. Walz even got on a phone himself. Before visiting the campaign office, Walz and Cooper took a trip to Cookout, both getting milkshakes, or as Walz calls them, malts. He also attended a private fundraising event in Midtown Raleigh. Reporting in Raleigh, Monica Casey, WRAL News.
So you remember that mental health hospital where a bunch of patients escaped. We've been covering this several times. We're talking about Holly Hill Hospital.
That same place is now partnering with the Raleigh Police Department. So how is this going to work? WRAL Investigates talked to the police chief and the hospital's new CEO. We ask if the chief should have confidence that the partnership will work.
Then North Carolina is back in the spotlight when it comes to the presidential race. The Cook Report does some fancy analysis of elections and campaigns and decides which states are considered battlegrounds. And we're on the list. The election guru himself, Steve Kornacki, joins us to talk about why.
Only on WRAL, we are finally hearing from the new CEO of Holly Hill Mental Health Hospital. WRAL has investigated this facility for months. In the past, they've been cited for violations. Even patients escaped. And now they're partnering with Raleigh Police so that some patients can bypass the ER. You know, getting this interview wasn't easy. After some back and forth, the CEO agreed, but audio only, no cameras allowed. WRAL Investigates' Sarah Kruger asked how this new leader plans to change things at Holly Hill and why Raleigh's police chief is optimistic about the partnership.
Just 2 days ago, this news release came as a big surprise, a new collaboration between Holly Hill Hospital and Raleigh Police. We asked for an interview with Raleigh's police chief, who explained Holly Hill's CEO approached her with this idea a couple months ago as a way to reduce strain on emergency rooms.
But also gets that critical care that the consumer needs.
Have you seen our reporting on Holly Hill?
I have not seen the reporting. I have heard about the reporting, but I have not seen it.
Over months, WRAL Investigates has spoken with more than 70 former patients, parents, staff, and executives of Holly Hill. We heard complaints about never seeing a doctor, not getting proper treatment, over-medication, sexual abuse, understaffing, and falsifying records. State investigators cited Holly Hill with multiple violations.
Does that give you pause in partnering with them?
It does not, because the reason being is we have new leadership in place.
That new leader is CEO Lee Holston. What we didn't know when we went to meet Chief Patterson is that Holston would be there too. She initially said she would do an interview, then suggested I email questions instead. I pushed back, and she finally agreed only to let us record audio.
Why have you not wanted to, and still do not want to, do a full on-camera interview?
Well, in the work that we do, of course, we have to be very careful about the privacy rights of the patients and population we serve.
Holston says she started in March and can't speak to past issues. So I asked her about the 5 teens who escaped right after she took over.
There's always opportunities for improvement, and that's what we're doing.
Patterson says people in distress need somewhere to get care.
And if Holly Hill is able to provide that, that's a win for the entire community.
And what if they are not able to provide that? Are you open to that possibility?
Well, certainly we will assess and see how things go.
Sarah Kruger, WRAL News, Raleigh.
This new collaboration will be for adults and juveniles. Chief Patterson said her department has been working with Holly Hill for years, and this is just one more way to partner.
Let's use the touchscreen to talk about the 2024 election, as well as North Carolina's role. For years, we've been very important, a battleground state. But as of a few months ago, it kind of sounded like we were losing relevancy until recently. And apparently, North Carolina is back in a big way. Also, I'm not that great at the touchscreen, so let's send it over to someone who is. Here's NBC's Steve Kornacki.
All right, the polls are tight. Both campaigns are spending heavily in North Carolina. You probably see the ads. It is a battleground state. And this is one that Trump won in 2020, as you see here, over Joe Biden. And it's one that Democrats think they can flip. And if Democrats can flip North Carolina, when you get to that road to 270 in the battle for the Electoral College, that could be decisive for Democrats if they could ever take this state from the Republicans. So why do Democrats think they have a chance here? Well, the simple answer is you're you're talking about the suburbs, cities, metropolitan areas, the Triangle, the Triad, Metrolina out west where Asheville is. These are places, you see they're blue on here. They're big. They've got lots of suburbs. We see this in North Carolina. We see it nationally. They've been getting more and more Democratic since Donald Trump came along. And the populations are growing in these areas. So what Democrats think is, hey, they were this close 4 years ago. They think 4 more years of population growth and 4 more years of these areas getting bluer, because that's the other thing that's been happening. They've been more and more Democratic election to election. Democrats think that could wipe out what was just a 75,000 vote margin for Donald Trump in 2020. But that's not the only thing that's going on here. Why was Trump ultimately able to win, and why do Republicans think they can hang on to North Carolina? Well, I mean, it's all of the reds you see on here. Now, a lot of these counties are smaller counties. Many of them are very small, rural counties. But just as Democrats have been gaining strength in these metro areas, Republicans under Trump have been gaining strength in small rural areas. We've got counties on this map where the margin for Republicans has gone from, say, 25 points in their favor a little bit more than a decade ago, where Trump's now winning them by more than 50. So it's two competing forces here. And which one is going to produce more votes? The surge for Trump in the rural parts of North Carolina, or the surge for Democrats in the metropolitan parts of North Carolina? Two very different forces could determine maybe the presidency.
All right. Thank you, Steve. We're back in the battleground conversation. A couple of other important updates to tell you about here in the 2024 election. RFK Jr. will remain on the ballot in North Carolina, despite the fact that he did suspend his campaign and threw his support behind Donald Trump. Meantime, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz will appear in their first televised interview tonight on CNN.
So the college football season starts tonight, and how interesting is this? The Triangles teams in very different places. We've got NC State at home. We've got UNC in Minnesota, the first time that they've ever played in program history, Minnesota. Both of these teams are dealing with lightning cat.
It's August, it's still summer. We still get those summertime storms that fire up, not just here, but up there as well. So UNC was delayed. The game now starts at 9 o'clock. You can watch it on Fox 50. The big difference is the temperatures. While both teams are dealing with storms, check out the difference. 72 at kickoff for the Carolina fans that are up north there. 90 degrees at kickoff here at NC State. Kickoff is 7:32. That storm has completely dissipated that was nearby. Duke, you're playing Elon tomorrow at home. You're going to have a potential for some storms as well, so check in for an update on that tomorrow. We'll have radar updates for you all throughout the afternoon before you head out to tailgate. So this is the radar loop over the past hour. Nothing there now, but the storm that developed earlier, it actually never really poured on NC State. It was just close enough in that vicinity for lightning to be picked up nearby, and they do that for safety. A very good call by the folks there. So notice there's kind of a line of storms to our north that's forming up into Virginia. That's what we're watching later tonight. Today we had 101 for the high. It's our 10th triple-digit day this year. The record was set back in 1999 when we had 12 days in the triple digits at RDU. So we'll keep an eye on that stat for you, but I think that this one should be the last of the year. 91 still out there right now with a heat index of 95. Even by 10 o'clock tonight, the heat index is still going to be in the upper 80s. And then overnight, we could see some of those storms from Virginia arrive in the area. But if you're not a fan of today's triple-digit heat, next Wednesday, check out this number, 79, and that's the high toward the middle of next week. So big improvements as the heat backs off next week. A lot of lightning up in Virginia right now. That's what we're watching for tonight. This should gradually kind of dissipate as it moves in, but it may hold together just long enough to impact the triangle points north, especially. That would be mainly after midnight tonight, and then as it continues to push to the south, it continues to weaken. Worst case scenario is this model I'm showing you. There could still be some rain at 6 a.m. for Fayetteville, but by 8 a.m. for the main morning commute, we'll have lingering clouds, but I really don't think there will be much in the way of rain. As we look here at the evening hours for tomorrow, we've got the potential for some storms to fire up, and that chance goes up tomorrow night especially. So we're going to be be watching that closely for you. 11 o'clock, you can see a lot of activity there on the radar. So let's look ahead at your 7-day forecast. We still have the 90s that are going to stick with us all throughout the weekend. And then as we get into next week, we begin to see some relief. But hot, humid, stormy weather as we close out summer unofficially on Monday, and then next week. Immediate relief. I mean, there's going to be a lot of clouds, but those upper 70s, lows in the 60s, those are going to feel pretty nice.
No doubt. Thank you, Kat.
Cool. Thank you. One last thing tonight. We want to know, do you prefer Wawa or Buc-ee's? This is a big question. We got a live poll going. WRAL.com/yourvoice. Let us know. We got the results coming up next. We want you to meet Stefan. Why'd they name it Stefan? Well, that's not part of the story. We don't know. Anyhow, it's a tiny robot. That's what's important. And it's painting lines at the outdoor athletic fields there in Rollsville. That place has everything. Soccer fields, football fields, even baseball and softball fields. This week, Stefan touched up the soccer field at the Rollsville Middle School. He even blows a little referee's whistle when he's done his job.
Oh, man, I love these robots. Okay, one last thing for you tonight. It requires some participation, so get out your phone, okay? We want your participation in this.